Can they retire comfortably with $625,000 and a business to sell? David and Tammy came to me and wanted to discuss their retirement. She's 65, he's 73, and with $625,000 and a partial stake in a small business worth around $180,000, retirement is imminent. They're ready to quit working and move into retirement and enjoy the next phase of life. They want to know if that's possible. So in today's case study, I'm going to walk through how we present financial planning, how we think about financial plans so that they can make informed decisions as they moved into, in this case, their retirement. So I'm going to share my screen and walk you through this case study here now. All right, we are in the David and Tammy case study, and I'm going to start here at the facts. David is 73, Tammy 64, will be 65 in November. I have both of them living to 65 years old, and I have a life expectancy of 90 for David and 95 for Tammy. Financial priorities are retirement. Goals are to retire. They're estimated they need about $60,000 a year to live in just to cover the basics. That would be their mortgage, their Medicare insurance, utilities, property taxes, cable, cell phone bill, those sort of things. So they think they need at least $60,000. They want to travel. They want to spend about $15,000 a year traveling from 2027 to 2037. And they don't necessarily want to leave any money to heirs. If there's any money left over at the end of their life, of course, they would love for their children to have it, but it's not a priority for them. Their priority right now is a comfortable retirement and enjoying travel their last remaining years. Their net worth. Tammy has a non-retirement, a non-qualified account. Tammy also has a 401k at work worth about $180,000. And she has an IRA that has about $368,000. David has his stake in the small business AV Consultants that he'll sell upon retirement. That's also worth about $180,000. They have a $475,000 home that has a little bit of a mortgage remaining on it. Mortgage payments around $1,000 or $1,100 a month. They've owned this home for a long time. It's something that they've owned. They haven't moved a lot. And so it'll be paid off in the next couple of years. And their payment is small. Their income, I did not put any working income now, although Tammy is working for the next several months. I'm just going to factor and pretend they're already retired. David's Social Security, he started at 65, so he's already been collecting this for a few years, and he is currently taking $32,820 a year, which is about $2,700 a month. Tammy, if she takes Social Security at full retirement age of 67, would be taking almost $29,000 a year, which is about $2,400 a month. So right out of the gate, it appears like just their Social Security will cover their base needs. So that's a good sign. They have, again, current expenses of right at $60,000 with planned travel of around $15,000 a year. They are Tennessee residents. We have no state income tax, and we are accounting for federal taxes using the 1040 form. I've turned off contributions and savings at this point. As we head into retirement, we're not doing an additional retirement savings. We have no life insurance left, and we have no long-term care insurance in place. So we really just have a little more than $600,000 in assets plus a business sale that's going to take place. So let's look at how we can make this happen in their retirement plan. So I pull up Decision Center. This is a great tool for me and clients that we work with at Paradigm Wealth Partners to look and see, are we on track? What levers can we pull and knobs can we twist in order to give us kind of that confidence to move into retirement or other goals that we want to accomplish? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on this plan that I kind of built out called Retire Hooray. And then I'm going to change this linear projections to show an average market. We're just going to look at what if the market is average from now through the rest of their life. And then I'm also going to show future value of money. I'm going to change that to present value of money. I have their expenses, the $60,000 a year of expenses, growing by about 3% a year for the rest of their life. So we are accounting for inflation in this plan. I think that's very important. We don't think inflation is going away. And so we are, accounting for that. And so we're going to have increased cost of living expenses over time, which is natural and anyone would expect. So as it stands now, you can see that if we do nothing, and there's no health scenario, meaning there's no long-term care need, there's no premature death, nothing like that, then it looks like they've got a pretty good, healthy probability of success, 83%. When we think about financial planning and we're thinking about these conversations around, can someone retire? Can someone meet some of their objectives, longer term goals? The Monte Carlo tool is a great indicator. It's not the end all be all answer. And so one of the things that we look at is, where does this tool rank? From 80 to 100% probability of success, it's almost like a green arrow or green light for traffic light. If it's between 70 and 80, think of that as a caution light, the yellow light. And if it's below 70, think of it as a red light. We need to make some major changes and adjustments in your plan to make sure that you are on track to meet your objectives. So at 83, things look pretty good. By the way, I don't ever like to see 98, 99, 100. If I see those numbers, then I start to feel like maybe we could retire sooner. Maybe we're saving too much. Maybe we could spend a little bit more and do some of the more travel or more house repairs or gift or donate to charity. There's other things we could do with the money if we're scoring that high. So I really think the sweet spot is somewhere between 85 and 95. But that doesn't fit every case. So right now we're showing 83% probability of success, and there'll be somewhere around $592,000 estimated to be left over at the end of the plan. So barring any major upsets or any major events, things look good. So what I want to show is, first, we sell AV consultants. We know that as David phases out of retirement, or out of work and moves into retirement, he needs to sell his 7% stake in AV consultants. And so that will create about $180,000 windfall into their plan. It will be a taxable event at long-term capital gain, so they will lose some of that proceeds right out of the gate to taxes, but they're still going to have a pretty healthy chunk of that cash flow or cash that goes right into their plan, so that's great. Tammy had mentioned wanting to take a really kind of big, extravagant trip to Europe soon after they retire. This is a trip to kind of congratulate them on successful working careers, raising their family, and really just kind of taking a big trip, something that they've always dreamed of, but haven't been able to be able to do now because they've had to raise their family and pay for college and work. And so it's just been something that really they want to have kind of the big trip. So we put in here $30,000 Europe trip for retirement. You can see that leaves us at an $86,000 probability of success. The AV consultant sell will immediately cover the trip to Europe. Really no big issue there. The next thing is, their home's a little old. It's 25 years old. It's not that old, but it's time for some repairs and some updates, especially as they get older, to make it a little bit more friendly for their age and potential future needs. So we put in $50,000 of home repairs, which brought our probability of success down to 81% from 86. Still gives us an ending value of about $565,000 at the end of their life, which means their two kids so far would inherit about $250,000, $280,000 apiece, which is fantastic news. So there's money left over currently at the end of the plan. Now, I mentioned earlier that I would love to see somewhere between 85 and 95%. And of course, I could make this happen with a few tweaks. We could lower some of their expenses. They need to watch what they spend a little bit more, or maybe they work, an extra year. Ultimately, I think at 81 for them, we're really, really close. I wouldn't say that they should put off retirement any longer. It's not like they're retiring at 59 or 60 or 61. They've worked those extra years. David's still working today at 73. Tammy's 64, turning 65 and still working. So we are still committed to their plan. And at 81, I think them working to where they have today has helped actually increase that probability of success to 81%. Had they not been working this long, I think we would see this plan in the 60s or maybe even low 70s. So it would be a failure. And I think their willingness to work has been able to extend the probability of this money lasting through retirement. So I think they've done a good job. Now, one thing I did notice, or I did kind of suggest here, is what if we delay Tammy's Social Security from full retirement age at 67 to 70? What kind of impact does that make? Now, you would think that that might be a positive impact. When I ran this, surprisingly, delaying that Social Security for 3 more years actually dropped the probability of success to 78, which tells me, let's go ahead and start using that money now to offset our expenses. And that keeps our cash buckets, our investment buckets in their control so that they can use those as they see fit for the trips, for the extra travel, for increased home costs, increased living expenses in the future. So it really doesn't make sense in this situation to delay her Social Security any longer than full retirement age. So what I would do is say we don't need to delay till 70. What I'm actually going to do is say, okay, what if we don't delay till 70? What if we change this here and say we're going to delay, or not delay, but we're just going to start at 65. We're going to start taking this right at 65. And when we do that, I didn't retitle that. This should say now 65. So when I do that, we drop from 81 to 80%. I would say there's probably not much difference there between the two. Obviously the 1% helps, but that means we're also taking income or taking more money from our investment accounts for those first 2 years. Because David sold his business, those first couple of years are going to be funded from the extra cash that wasn't used for home repairs, for the big Europe trip, and for taxes. So we've got about 2, maybe 3 years there that we can utilize the sale of that business. And that's why we don't see a huge differentiator between taking it 67 or 65, because we've already got some cash there to help cover those years. I would say, let's start taking it 65 in this situation and start utilizing the assets or the income provided from Social Security to help offset the minimum expenses that we know we have, which is $60,000 a year starting out. Again, inflation adjusted at 3% a year. I think that when we walk through this, and I get these questions from people all the time that says, I've got 500,000, I've got 600,000, I don't know if I can retire. Absolutely, you can retire. But I think you're gonna have to be careful about what you spend, maybe have to work a little longer than you intended. You're gonna have to be careful of your nest egg and how we turn that nest egg into a paycheck. But absolutely, I've done these many times where someone has $500,000 to $800,000 and are able to retire very comfortably without a lot of additional stress. Now, the real hiccup to this plan would be if we have a kind of a significant event that may cause a long-term care need. So if we say long-term care is needed for David, and I'll come in here and plug this in. If we put in this health event, let me go edit it. We say David needs $50,000 for assisted living from 86 to 90 when he passes away. And let's say that's $50,000 a year. When we save that and we go back to the plan, now we see that their probability of success drops to 62%. Now, they still have money at the end of life, but again, we're running a Monte Carlo. So this is many simulations to see, are you going to make it? And so this is a situation where I'm not comfortable with, if there's a health event, would they have enough money to continue through their life? Depends on how you look at this. Again, one says $313,000 left over. So if it does, it would still have 3 or 4 years of assets that could cover either assisted living if Tammy needed it, or if David lives longer than 90. But the plan starts to get a little hairy here if we have a premature death or some sort of assisted living type of need. So that's something to be cautious about. We could go out and look at acquiring some sort of long-term care plan. The problem at 73 and 65 is it's going to be very, very expensive. So, in my situation, my recommendation here would be we continue to just kind of operate as is, and maybe have a child that we can move in with, or a child can be a caregiver, or maybe we have in-home help that would be less expensive. So I think there would be some options here but that would be the big risk that blows this plan up. One other thing that I want to kind of show here is, what if we assume that there's a below average market for the next 30 years? What does that look like? That still gives us an 80% probability of success, meaning we should have money for as long as we live. But again, there's no guarantees here. But you can see that instead of having, several $100,000 left over, we only have $32,000 left over, meaning if Tammy lives to 96, then we're probably not going to have investment assets left over. We're going to be only living on Social Security. So longevity, which is one of the 5 big risks in retirement that I wrote about in my book, is also a major issue in a situation like this. As long as they're alive and they're collecting Social Security, things look great and they can spend money. If they live a long time and have longevity, then that's where things may, or have an assisted living or health event, that's where things may start to get a little wonky. I definitely think David and Tammy can retire. I think that, they can move into that next phase of life. Is it going to be as rosy as some other people? No, but it's something that I would absolutely feel comfortable with them moving forward with. That is really what I have for today's case study. And I appreciate you joining me today and listening. These conversations I've had with them have been wonderful. I think they're great people and look forward to continue working with them. If you're curious about your financial plan, your retirement picture, maybe how do you turn your nest egg into a paycheck, I would love to help. I would love to walk through a financial planning scenario with you and see what that looks like. We do this all the time at Paradigm Wealth Partners. We are a full service investment management team and also financial planning, and we do this all the time. So again, thank you for watching. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do so. It helps me more than you know. Be confident in your retirement. Have a wonderful day.